Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, wherever it is you are. Whatever time you're watching this, I don't know. I'm confused because of the clocks going forwards, and this throws me off every year with the Malaysian Grand Prix. So just ignore me and my crazy lack of any awareness for time. This will always happen anyway because, of course, I say this is going to be really short, this video, and then I talk forever. So, I've made some notes that are only actually one-word answers, but that's obviously never going to happen. So anyway, to get on with it, I'm going to talk about the Malaysia Grand Prix 2014. So the first question is, obviously Mercedes have won 2 out of 2 races so far. Which of these victories impressed me most out of Nico Rosberg in Australia or Lewis Hamilton in Malaysia? My one-word answer is neither. Because, if the question was, who had the best car driver combo that weekend, you can't really ignore the winner of the race or pole position, but it doesn't have to impress me. And people will know I'm not a fan of Mercedes and I'm not a fan of either of their drivers. So yeah, neither of them particularly impressed me. I think in Australia, there was a lot of unknown. Yeah, he did well because he wasn't on pole and stuff like that. I don't take anything away from it, but I don't feel obliged to be impressed. And also, they're clearly the front runners at the moment. It's the same with, Vettel can win 10 races in a row and people will still slag him off and saying, oh, well, it's easy because he's got the best car. Well, that's true of Mercedes at the moment. They have the best car. Good for them. It's a team game, so there's plenty of awesome people who have put that together. But yeah, I'm not really impressed with either of the victories. They're sort of fairly simple. I think more contenders for drivers of the day, which is the bonus question, so I won't go too much into, are going to be people like Hulkenberg, Alonso, people outdriving the car, which is more impressive to anybody, regardless of your driver preference, I think, than people leading from the front and not really having anything difficult to deal with, things like, overtaking your strategy. They just get on with it. And I think one of the appeals of Formula One is that it is the epitome of, epic motorsport. It's not meant to look easy. Nobody likes looking easy, and I know that's a lot more to be said about the past 4 years than this year, because this year, finally, they're fighting the cars a bit more. But yeah, those Mercedes wins, I'm not impressed. I'm not that bothered. You are, of course, entitled to your opinion, and if you're a fan of Mercedes, you must be loving life right now. Seeing them so high up the tables, this is great for you. And that's my other final thing to say, just on people's differing opinions. I'm loving, having a debate with people and disagreeing, and I know a lot of people will disagree with me about things like, Hamilton, Mercedes, whoever. But everyone's entitled to their opinion, so as long as no one tells me I'm not allowed an opinion, then we're all good. So yes, I'm not particularly impressed with Mercedes, but fair play to them. Question 2. Do I agree with Felipe Massa ignoring team orders from Williams regarding letting Bottas pass to potentially chase down Jenson Button in the final few stages? I do. And my one-word answer for this, or sort of if it's hyphenated or something, is badass. Because Felipe Massa is a badass. I think it just set the perfect precedent. I know people were slagging off Claire Williams afterwards. Her interview was a bit dithery and she was kind of changing her tune quite a lot as to whether it's team orders or whether it's not, or whether she agrees or whether she's going to tell him off. But I think, they made a call. They made a few different calls based on the situation at the time. So they might have made a call when Bottas had a much faster lap and they were really close to Jenson, and then they made a different call when Jenson had pulled away a bit and Bottas had fallen back a bit, So you can't say they just have to stick to that's one thing and deal with it. I think they did alter their sort of orders, their messages to the drivers, and we didn't hear the whole thing. We didn't hear the replies, stuff like that. So we can't speak as if we know everything. But yes, I think it set the perfect precedence because, of course, Massa's had a lot of issues with team orders with, Michael Schumacher, and then, Fernando's faster than you, and everyone's going to make that reference, I know. Of course, his new engineer would use that exact phrase, Valtteri is faster than you. That was awkward and pointless, and I'm sure they're counting down the minutes until Rob arrives at Williams to set things straight. But yes, I think it was perfectly within his rights to do so. I don't think they were realistically going to chase down Button at that stage. They both needed to sort of cool the cars down, as sort of Claire was saying. And yeah, swapping them around, all that's going to do is, disrupt the team and just disrupt everything, because it's going to piss Massa off. Bottas is going to be a bit like, well, if I wanted to, I'd do it by myself. You don't need to baby me and say, oh, let him out, get him out the way. You know, he wasn't sort of on the radio like Vettel. And they would have got the same amount of constructors points, you know. So at this stage, especially when Felipe got nil point in the first thing anyway, and Bottas is already proving that he can move up the field very kind of easily in a way, you know, as in if he qualifies badly, he can recover. I don't see why they need to worry messing around with team orders at this stage. So I'm very glad he ignored it. If he'd have moved aside, I think that would have been really bad for his general mindset and just for the team, because that just it just looks bad, I think, if they're going to become one of those teams. And they are one of the most beloved teams on the grid, especially this year when they're finally sort of doing well. And they've got two great drivers, clearly on sort of level playing field, because they were 7th and 8th, or I think those are the finishing positions. So yeah, I'm very glad he ignored it. I think it was badass. Question 3, 7 drivers had DNFs this race. Is that a good thing, or is it tarnishing the racing? I think it's fine. I don't think 7's a lot, really, to be honest. I don't see why retirements would tarnish the racing. Obviously, you don't want a silly race where nobody finishes, but a bit of unpredictability is great. Everybody likes that. That's what people wanted when they first sort of, went to Pirelli with a sort of brief for like what kind of tyres we want. What people wanted was unpredictability, the falling off the cliff and all the different strategies coming into play. So it's similar to that for me. It's an extra aspect of it. Yes, it's unfortunate if your driver is the one that retires from the race, some of them would just be playing on incidents anyway. People have, tagged each other. So some of it is completely unavoidable, and obviously the unreliability for now is unavoidable, and I'm quite enjoying it. I quite like the idea that, if somebody out in front, whether it's Lewis Hamilton, who I don't like, or Jenson Button, who I completely adore, I like the idea that it's not just a done deal once they're out front. Their car might just cut out, so regardless of driver preferences and stuff like that, I think it's certainly not tarnishing racing. I think it's adding to it. I mean, there's loads of aspects this year that I'm really enjoying. But I don't think DNFs are an issue, really. And the bonus question is driver of the day and why. This one I found quite difficult. Let's be honest, it was quite a meh sort of race. Not a lot of excitement going on. So it's difficult to see a standout person, to be honest. I mean, okay, Hülkenberg, Alonso, Bottas, Button, all sort of moving up from their qualifying positions or maintaining it, outdriving the car, all some good contenders. Obviously, I'm going to have to say amazing from Romain Grosjean for finishing an entire race. Well done, Romain, well done, Lotus. You did it. Pastor, you nearly did it, not your fault, so you tried. I still have my pasta pom-poms. I'm still supporting you desperately. But I think it's a good sign. I mean, it's silly to get excited about, finishing a race. I will point out they're also 11th, which is, decent. That's nearly getting a point. I know that's because of DNFs and all this. But it's nice to see. And definitely their development is incredibly fast. If you think from basically not even getting a few laps into the race and just cutting out and just no chance to, full race distance and all this. So that's, it's good to see. It's positive. I don't know what kind of shape Lotus is going to be in for the season, but I wouldn't put it past them catching up and actually getting back into the points mid-season and maybe even podium by the end of the season. This is just me wishful thinking, hoping I see Roman's big smiley face on the podium by the end of the season. So yeah, my silly answer for driver of the day is going to be Bruno Senna, who has joined the Sky F1 team as a sort of extra pundit. He's going to be my driver of the day because he was fairly flawless in his punditry and his presenting skills. I mean, Anthony Davidson's been using that SkyPad for over 2 years and still messes it up a lot of the time, and Bruno seemed fairly flawless. Obviously has that marvellous voice we get to enjoy. I particularly like his pronunciation of the word rubbery. I'm not doing an impression, obviously, that'd be crazy. He was lovely. A good addition to the team. I believe he's there for 7 races, so at least we get some more of him. So yes, I'm aware you can't drive the SkyPad, but yeah, Bruno Senna, good job this weekend. Yeah, so that's all the questions. I have a final word on Red Bull because random email interrupting me. I think I know who that is as well. Red Bull, have to have a word about Red Bull just because of all everything going on, and I mean, at least both drivers were sort of in contention more than last weekend. But yeah, with all that sort of, well, I don't want to call it rule breaking because I know it's like a technical directive, you're directed to do something rather than instructed and stuff like that. Rule breaking slash basically just doing stuff that's getting them penalties and getting them in trouble. I mean, there's so much of it, I think, starting with fuel flow gate, if you have to add gate on the end of everything. I mean, the FIA must be thinking to Christian Horner, I mean, they must be thinking, who do you think you are? He's sort of like a Charlie Whiting wannabe, and so today they had 2 cars running and that becomes 1, and Ricciardo has to stop, he has to stop and go, and then on top of that he's got drive-through now. No, hang on, no, he had to stop and go, and I'll have a 10-place grid drop next race, so double whammy on that one, little awkward. And yeah, when they signed up Ricciardo, Red Bull said to him, they'll say you'll be there at the front of the grid, and all these problems are just too much, to be honest. I know all this sort of drama off track will, spice up the season, but it's looking awkward for Red Bull, to be honest. I think they were lucky to get Seb on the podium today to give them a little bit more hope after Daniel Ricciardo's terrible bad luck with everything team related. So yeah, that was just a little word on Red Bull. And this is over 11 minutes long, so I'm going to stop, and before I get out of breath from too much talking. So yeah, there you go. This is my sort of semi-formulated thoughts on the Malaysia Grand Prix 2014. I look forward to watching some more videos of yours, hopefully, and talking rubbish on Twitter as ever. And I guess I'll see you in a week's time for Bahrain. Hopefully I get to watch that race. I might be able to. I'll definitely catch up, you know what I'm like. So yes, I will see you again in a week for my review of the Bahrain Grand Prix, and until then, have a good one. See ya.